right here.
Yeah. Do you want to do it like together or like separate?
I want to do it together.
So moving it? Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like let's set it right here.
It's our first subathon, y'all.
First Subathon.
First subathon. Yay!
Lighting's good right here.
Yay! First subathon. Lock in, lock in.
Okay.
We're doing the hashtag work.
Doing the hashtag work, trying to get the hashtag set up. Make sure the door number's not showing here. No, it's not.
I don't think there's a door number here.
All
Welcome,
right.
America.
I want to get both of us in there. Both of us in the shot.
Okay.
Yay! All right. What we didn't talk about is exactly how we were gonna start. So I guess we'll start with an introduction. I am Jolene.
And I'm Addie.
And we are married. We currently live in Atlanta, Georgia. If you've been following our content, you know that we lived in Thailand for what, 4.5, close to 5 months.
Yep.
So we originally planned to be there longer, but before we get into that exactly, I wanted to kind of start with like our whole journey
as a couple.
From being together to where we are now, to catch you guys up.
Okay. Sounds good. So do you want me to start?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm Addie. I was in 2021. I was running a group called on meetup.com called Power Lesbians of Atlanta, and my life changed when Jolene joined our group.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time she joined our group, she was a no-show. She was supposed to come to the event and come. So the second time she signed up for a wine and jazz festival, I was really excited. I would finally get to meet her.
In my defense, I didn't come because I think I was still trying to figure out Atlanta gay scene. And I was nervous because I was operating the gay scene by myself. I feel like I had graduated college and I had moved to the city, and I was honestly in a place where there weren't a lot of my peers. I didn't know where my peers were. Obviously I had peers, but I couldn't find them. So also, this is a subathon, so make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. Hi, how are you guys? That's why I didn't go to the first one. I was scared.
While we have an audience, should we direct them to our link? We are raising money.
We are raising money for our homestead. We're building a homestead in Hawaii. Every single dollar counts. Please donate there. Please like our video. Please subscribe if you want to see our homestead journey. That's what we're here for. That's what we're doing. So right now we're in the middle of telling our story as a couple and how we got to this point.
Yes. If you cannot donate financially, at the links in our descriptions, the links in our bios, subscribe and like the video. That's a free way that you can support our homestead.
Yes. And I'm a Jolene and this is Addie again. So yeah, so she's running the group. Go ahead.
Yeah, and there's an event at a wine and jazz festival. It actually wasn't even my idea. Someone reached out and said this would be a good, hi from India, this would be a good event. Only 2 people RSVP'd, Jolene and one other person, and I was alone by myself for probably at least 2 hours waiting for my guests to arrive, and lo and behold, Jolene FaceTimes me.
And so it's so funny because at the time I was living in the city, like I said, so I lived pretty much on Piedmont Park. I lived in Azure, doesn't matter, but it's on Piedmont Park in Atlanta. So I never asked for directions when she said we were going to the festival because I was like, oh, I know where everything in Piedmont Park is and where it happens. So I was literally like on my bike not my bike, but on a city bike, those Lime bikes, trying to figure out like where to meet her. I'm like in a dress, got dressed up to go to this wine festival, but am on a Lime bike in a dress trying to get to where Addie is because I have no idea.
And now we talk about like there being resistance, like whenever something really big or good or exciting is about to happen, they talk about the resistance. There's always like you got to go through some challenges and some obstacles to get to whatever is your prize, your destiny. And I'm grateful that Jolene worked through the resistance to find the Wine and Jazz Festival because we never would have met.
No, if I could get the instant replay from that day, I would love it because I would be laughing because I wish y'all could have seen me on those Atlanta streets on that line bike trying to get to the festival. But anyway, so that's how we met.
That's how we met. Thanks for all the positive comments in the chat. Again, you can support us by donating to our GoFundMe, links in bio, link in description. If you can't financially support, go ahead and subscribe and like the video, share it with your friends.
Yes.
We're telling our life story, our
telling
couple
our
story.
life couple story, yeah.
We're bearing everything. We're getting authentic. So that's what we're doing here. All right. So we had a great first meeting, right? We played Cards Against Humanity. We had another person there who was a cool third wheel. And I was in a relationship at a time, so we were strictly friends.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yes. And then what happens after that?
I mean, a good amount of stuff, but it leads to us being ready to say I do to each other.
Yep. Less than a year later.
So I think what's also interesting about that story is obviously when we met, we were both at the top of our careers, right?
Yeah.
Addie had just got this excellent job. Matter of fact, as a friend, guys, when she got her offer at her last position, I made her dinner. And, I think I made her dinner just because congratulations about the interview. And she got the email that she got the role at our house, and it's like, jumping up and down, y'all, and we're talking about, that's just my friend.
Yeah, and it wasn't until my best friend at the time was like, oh, she's cooking dinner for you. And sorry, Rahul, we're in Atlanta. You keep asking where we're from. And she was like, well, it kind of seems like more than a friend. And at this time, I had already ended my previous relationship. I was single and ready to mingle and had no idea that this new close friend of mine was going to be my wife.
Yeah. So, like we said, we got married. We're both at the top of our careers. So I guess I'll go first since mine happened first. I was working with my family. We had an Amazon delivery service program. We had one of the largest in Atlanta and also one of the most successful. I did that for 5 years. And I don't think I loved it, but I did love the money. Point blank, period. I loved the money. And one thing that happened in the time of us, coming together was Addie is a financial expert. So we were able to really hone in and use that income in a way that I honestly never had. I mean, I'll just go ahead and be honest. I was living the high life and didn't care about anything. What is retirement? Do I even need to be worried about that? Nah, I was a city girl. I had my own high-rise apartment, an air fryer in a car. You couldn't tell me nothing. I was going to the store in the mall and doing all of that stuff. So when I met Addie and she was like, so you're not going to be able to do that with our money anymore. First, I'm like, our money, and she initiated the process of us combining our finances and ultimately getting us to a savings goal and savings, achievement level to where we were able to be really comfortable. And then, so like I said, I did that for 5 years. And then August of 2023, my parents shut down our business with no notice. So this is a crazy story, guys. So we literally, there are hummingbirds around. So we literally showed up for my sister's 40th birthday party. We thought it was a cool regular day. And then my parents literally were like, oh, by the way, before we cut the cake, you guys don't have jobs anymore. And I think at that time,
that was 2 years ago, almost
2 years ago. And I think at that time, we didn't know, well, I don't know what I was about to say, but we had only just gotten married. We had only been married, I think, at that time for what? If that was August, we got married in January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. So not 8 months into us being married, I lose my job, which was obviously significant income. And had I could get emotional about it. I had so many different things because it was my family's business. It had my name on it. I was on the grind. I was working harder than I have ever worked. I mean, for months, me and my sister were waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, showing up to get the drivers ready, get the trucks out. We had like 80 routes at one time, upwards of 200 employees. There are days where I wouldn't even go home. I would work from like 4 a.m. to 10 o'clock in the evening. So, like, hardest I've ever worked, right? And like I said, we show up to my sister's 40th birthday party, business gone, you don't have a job anymore. Um, I don't know what to tell you. No severance, no anything. We paid out our PTO because that was legally required. But long story short, I was getting paid under 6 figures, but with bonuses, and I mean, it's my family. So with bonuses and everything, I was making way over 6 figures. Well, not way, but over 6 figures. And so that stopped in August of 2023. And luckily for us, Addie was still gainfully employed. And in that time, I had so many journeys of applying to jobs nonstop. All right. I can't even tell you how many jobs I applied to because I applied to at least 3 a week just for unemployment, but it ends up being way, way more than that because you're just like, well, I might as well do this one, might as well do that one. You know, if you're in the spirit of applying, you're in the spirit of applying. So I applied. Then I wanted to do my own business. So I started a consulting business, and that went pretty well. I got a couple clients, but it's consulting is fun, and I enjoy consulting, and I'm absolutely still open to consulting. But it was just it's frustrating when you know how to run a business for somebody else and they have all of their own ideas that are obviously not working for them, which is why they're talking to you about it, but they aren't ready to accept that. So, like I said, that worked for a little while. We got some income from that, but of course I wanted to grow. I wanted to expand, get more regular income. And all of this time I'm still applying. To whatever job, making all of this stuff, getting rejection after rejection after rejection after rejection. And then also doing my best to recover from losing the closeness I had with my family because we were working every day, losing what I thought would be our legacy, what I thought we were going to have for years and years and years to, sustain us. Yeah, so going through therapy to get it over all of that stuff. And then still trying to show up as best I could as a partner and a wife for her career because it was like, well, Addie's career is taking off. So I'm just going to kind of pivot to building her up and making sure, like a housemaker and all that stuff. When she comes home, she doesn't have to do anything. She can just kind of decompress for the day and all of that good stuff.
Wow. Well, thanks for sharing that story, Jolene. I know that was emotional. People are asking what's going on. We're raising money for our homestead in Hawaii.
We're raising money. Like, subscribe, and donate to our GoFund.
Our GoFundMe link is in the description of our live streams, also in our bios on YouTube. And if you can't financially support, we're asking that you subscribe and like the video, share the GoFundMe to help support us. Jolene just shared her journey. People ask why they let you go. The business shut down. It wasn't the business just closed. So Jolene shared her story. I'll share mine. I feel like I went through life trying to check off every box perfectly. I studied hard, got straight A's, went to private high school, private boarding school, college preparatory school, where my classmates were Dubai princesses or Bahrainian princesses and Marriott heiresses, and I was the only person in my class to get accepted into an Ivy League school. I got accepted into Dartmouth College. 3 years between high school and college, I learned to work. I worked as a bartender. If people are from Atlanta, Clayton County Transit. I used to take a bus from Henry County to the airport, then take MARTA all the way to Buckhead, That's how I was able to earn money, get my first apartment in Atlanta. Went through a lot of trials and tribulations, functioning as a non-high school graduate because I was expelled from high school, even though I got accepted at Dartmouth. And that 3 years, I went through therapy, treatment, all of that to get my life back together so I could start at Dartmouth. I started at Dartmouth very focused on school, very focused on internship, very focused on jobs, did everything I could to make money, be financially independent, because my parents basically, once I got kicked out of high school, stopped being supportive. They left, they weren't available to help me. I was on my own. I went to Dartmouth. I got a math degree because I just knew I was going to be recruited for investment banking. I did corporate recruiting. I did internships. I had mentors. I did everything. I could not get a job even coming out of college. I got my first job because I was doing cleaning people's houses, stacking woods, walking dogs. That's how I was able to get a chance even at a job. And I started marketing, making 50K in 2015. And because I had gone through everything I went through, I was really intense about saving. I was really intense about retiring. And I also found out very quickly that corporate America was very damaging to me specifically as a person. I think people who are less sensitive, it may be easier for them, but considering my life story and everything I had gone through, I deeply cared about feedback. I deeply cared about being valued, my work being valued. So I knew I needed to retire early and make a early retirement plan, which is why I even had savings when I met Jolene. It wasn't because I was just making so much money. It's because I was living literally bare bones. Like Jolene remembers when she met me, my apartment, what was my fridge? Empty. What was my pantry? Empty. I had no car. I had bare minimum everything. I had folding tables and folding chairs. I was so scared to spend money because I had been without money. I had been scammed before, and I did everything I could. I was also in a career coaching program. I already had a job. I'd worked my way from cleaning lady to Microsoft at that point. Jolene mentioned I got an offer from Google. I thought I was set for life. I thought I could finally just work at a company, work 40 hours, check out after. That ended up not being my experience at all. It ended up being probably the most intense jobs and positions I ever had. And I got let go December 2024. I was alerted August 2024 I was going to be losing my position, or my position was being eliminated. They said it was nothing about my performance or whatever, but whatever. Here I am, laid off. We did, and when we had two incomes, we did everything we possibly could do. We paid off all our debt. We saved for our vacations.
Woo woo for debt free,
Yeah.
because that's huge. I don't know anybody else in our entire family or peer group who is debt free. We don't owe anybody any money.
Yeah. So, and we moved to, are you ready to talk about Thailand?
Yeah.
Okay. But if you're watching, subscribe to our channels, like our videos, but most importantly, donate to our GoFundMe. It's linked in our live streams. It's linked in our bios. It's linked in our descriptions of all of our videos. ASAP, urgently.
ASAP, go, go, go. Click the like button and also make sure you subscribe. And so, by the time we both got laid off, and I feel like maybe for me a little bit before, because I was still applying and still like running up against that wall. Like, I got to get a job. I got to get a job. I got to get a job. And I'm a very spiritual person, as all of the lovely subscribers to J Snow Live know. And it got to a point for me where I was like, well, I've done everything. Like, I've made 700 resumes. I've applied to 2,000 companies. I've made pitch decks. You know what I mean? It's like, I've just done this whole thing. And it was just kind of like, this isn't happening for me. And I had to kind of think about like, well, maybe God doesn't want that for me. You know what I mean? Or even if it's not necessarily God, it's there's a part of me that must not truly want that for myself, because I am not able to manifest it, and I'm banging my head up against the wall trying to manifest it. I got Addie banging her head up against the wall trying to manifest it, because she read through every resume. She listened to me talk on and on and endlessly for hours. Is this job right? Do you think I could all of that stuff? So, you know, I finally came to the place where I was like, this is not flowing for some reason, and I'm trying to force it at this point, and I don't know why, you know. So
Yeah, I feel like, especially witnessing what Jolene was going through, I mean, I was shocked, you know. I feel like every time I needed a job, I don't know if this was the economy, there are certain things you do. You write that tailored resume, you apply to many positions as possible. And I honestly felt dumb because I was giving her the playbook that had worked for me, but something changed in 2022. Like, people just literally did not want to hire people, no matter the experience. All they wanted to do was let go, let go, let go. And that was really hard because I was disappointed, because I'm like, the hours that we spend in these resumes, we tailored this position so perfectly. For her to not even get an interview is crazy. And fast forward, and we'll go back to her, I've also been doing the same thing since we got back to the US end of May, applying for a ton of jobs. I worked at Google, I worked at Microsoft, I went to Dartmouth. That has not mattered at all. I have not, other than like contract positions that aren't technically W-2 jobs, I've not been reached out to for an interview.
yeah. So, you know, at first I don't like to be a victim. So it was easy to be like, woe is me. And then it's like, you can only open so many rejection emails before you're like, okay, what is it? Is it me? You know? But like I said, it just was kind of getting to the point where it's like, well, it's just not flowing. And if it was if it was for me, it would be for me, and I would have a role by now, and I'd be comfortable in. I feel like one of the roles that I did get was like a sales associate position at Express, and I was pissed because Express at the time was going through a merger. And long story short, there was no employee discount. So it was like, who the hell wants to work? I'm sorry, but who wants? And I have a degree. I have 2 degrees. I have a bachelor's degree in Spanish and a bachelor's degree in psychology from Valdosta State University. Go Blazers. So it was like, I'm finally like, all right, I guess I'll do retail, because it was like around Christmas time, and I was like, this is the only thing I can probably get, and there's no employee discount. That's the only reason you even work at these clothing stores, so that you can go get a clothing discount. So like I said, it just became painfully obvious and clear that the job was not where flow was.
It wasn't. So once we decided we were going to move to Thailand, hope to save money. Everyone sees those videos about you can rent an apartment for $300. We're like, well, we could probably get a house for $500. You know, everyone talks about how cheap the food is, and and the services. So that's what got us to Thailand. We sold all of our stuff. We moved to Thailand hoping to start.
And I kind of want to touch on that for a second. Like, so we sold everything to move to Thailand. When we moved to Thailand, and when you guys look at our content and you see like those 8 or 9 bags that we had, that was everything we owned at that point. We sold car. We sold every piece of furniture that would sell. If it would sell, we sold it. Okay. And even that was its own emotional let go experience, you know, and just understanding and going through the journey of realizing how much emotional energy those items carry with you. Because it was like, I had items from my sister's first divorce. I had items from living with my sister, you know, like just a collection of stuff that has its own memories, its own energy. And one day I have all those videos in my phone of like telling you guys exactly what it's like giving away different things, and how there's parts of it that are rewarding and you feel good because it's like, oh, that made someone's day. They're really happy. And then it's also some of the stuff where you're like, damn, that's mine. And it's not mine anymore. So I just didn't want to speed over, that was
Selling
an
our stuff,
emotional
yeah.
process. And there was a really huge, I think it shows the amount of commitment we had at the time to trying to make sure Thailand would work for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have all of those vlogs recording our moving. If you want to see those vlogs, donate to our GoFundMe. We will happily release all of our selling all our stuff, moving content. I'm sure we just didn't post because it's emotional,
Yeah,
honestly. So if you
yeah.
want to see that stuff, donate to our GoFundMe. And if we achieve, let's say $50,000 in this subathon, we will release our vlogs. So thanks for touching in on that in terms of selling everything on Facebook. It was hard, it was challenging, it sucked, it was humbling, but we just knew that we were about to, everything would pay off once we get to Thailand. If we just get there, then we can live a life of less than 4K in expenses a month and figure out a way to get an online business and fund our life as expats in Thailand. So we got to Thailand, and in some ways it was everything that we wanted. We're close to the beach. Food and fruit juices were easily accessible. We were surrounded by lush land. We were able to rent a home for the first time together. That was cheaper than our 1-bedroom apartment and way more spacious. And everything was great. I think the issue for me was that we were still early content creators. We knew we had to make more videos and we had to get over that hump of becoming full-time live streamers because we were so exhausted and burnt out for moving our whole life to Thailand, and the crush of Jolene still being out of work. Now I'm out of work. What is our marriage? Or, there's a lot of insecurities that come up. It's like, were we only together because we both had good jobs? How are we gonna, does she really love me? Do I really love her? You know what I mean? All of that stuff. It was just stressful. And I think it was really being in a foreign country with different limitations. It wasn't as easy as we thought it was to stand up, immediately start making money virtually in Thailand.
And I think, and we kind of might disagree a little bit on this, because I personally feel like we had started making money in Thailand. Obviously, it wasn't an amount that we needed. But what did become clear that we both agreed on was that it was not easy to function on our visa. So I kind of want to talk about that. For anybody who is trying to get their DTV, their Destination Thailand visa, I don't recommend that visa, point blank, period. It's a good tourist visa, but nobody wants to be a tourist for 5 years. And when we got the visa, first of all, we can't ignore the fact that when we got the visa, we were immediately scammed, right? That was the first kind of rocky road in our Thailand version. As soon as we paid for our visas through the supposedly encrypted app or whatever, our accounts got hacked. So also, 2 or 3 weeks before we're set to leave, we're running around talking to Chase like, are we going to have debit cards before we leave the country? Because you can't go to the bank anymore and get a debit card. And like I said, we know it was that DTV website that made our cards susceptible to hacking.
Yeah.
So we were, afraid about banking as soon as things took off, because we're like, as soon as we frankly mess around in the Thai banking system, we were hacked, right? So then I feel like my other beef with the DTV visa that didn't become obvious, I think, until we got back to Bangkok the first time we left. It is not a visa that gets you towards residency in any way. So to have any kind of permanent living situation in Thailand, the DTV visa is not going to get you that. The DTV visa is so that you can, I don't even know, honestly.
You can move in and out at 6-month periods of a time in Thailand, and that's it.
But the thing about it is, I mean, maybe they'll hold you up at the border. Obviously, we didn't break those rules, so we don't know, how it works. But it didn't appear like we ended up doing a kind of mini visa run because it was like her birthday just kind of aligned with the time of which we needed to do a visa run, and nobody came and stamped off, like you guys left like you were supposed to. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like there was no acknowledgement. So I guess I don't know if what that
I'm sorry. Yeah, keep going.
I think he's dying.
Okay.
Yeah. But there's nobody who's gonna come like stamp your passport and so I don't know how it works. Don't go over there breaking immigration rules. All I am saying though is that the DTV visa is a waste of money. It doesn't set you up as a citizen from your country to go and live comfortably and participate in the Thai economic system. It just, I still am trying to figure out what it does. Addie just gave, the succinct definition that they tell you, but as somebody who was holding the visa, I didn't really see any fruits or benefits, which led to one of the main things. And this is also insider, top secret, that I don't feel like the other expat influencers are sharing. And I don't know if it's because it doesn't happen all the time or what, but when we switched governments, right, and Trump got elected, and not sharing my opinion on any of that stuff whatsoever, but the world was questioning it. And long story short, all kinds of stuff started happening where the value of the dollar dropped. So none of these expats are talking about the value of the dollar dropping potentially while you are abroad or overseas. So we watched the dollar be $35 when we first arrived in Thailand, and it got to where it was $33 to the $1. And you think that doesn't make a difference, but if your whole world is operating in Thai currency and Thai ecosystem, those couple of dollars made a difference. And our monthly income and expenses, or we didn't have income, but our monthly expenses started going up, and there was no way to counteract it except what we thought was get a bank account. And then we learned, back to residency and permanency in Thailand, we learned that the DTV visa, while it says on there that you can get a bank account, you cannot actually get a bank account. They don't let you do any bank. And I respect it. This is not a video where I'm downing Thailand. We loved Thailand so much so that we wanted it to be easier to actually establish permanent residency to live there. And now I'm just sharing to you that's not the case. And frankly, it's because they don't want that. They don't want Americans or anybody coming in there and messing up their ecosystem, or I say ecosystem, but what am I talking
Economy?
Economy, their economic system. That's the one I'm looking for. They don't want foreigners and outsiders coming in and disrupting their economy, and more power to them, but not being able to get a bank account and not being feeling like we were actually able to live there comfortably as residents, because another thing that came with income was like we wanted to start a business. We were excited to start businesses. We had money that we wanted to invest in businesses, but you have to have a Thai owner pretty much. So if you have a business in Thailand, the owner has to be 51% Thai. The owner of the 51% has to be Thai, native and born. So now it's like we have to be networking and cahooting enough with people to meet someone and feel confident and close enough to them that we want to give them more access and ownership to our business than we can have. And because I feel like if we were single, there might have been a better path towards that, right? We could have got Thai girlfriends and they teach us the language and show us the ropes, and we feel comfortable making that. But we were already married. We're happily married. We're happy to be established in our union. So it didn't make sense at all for us to try to bring in essentially a third person for our business. And it's like even when we were open to it, it just didn't flow.
Yeah, I bet Jolene summed that up perfectly. If you're just joining, we have a GoFundMe raising money for our homestead in Hawaii. Please click the link in our descriptions and our bios to donate and contribute to our homestead. We're telling our whole life story.
Telling our
to
whole life story.
to explain why we need your help, why we need your donations. We don't ask for much, but we're asking now, and it is incredibly time sensitive. If you can't financially support, please subscribe to our channels.
Subscribe.
And like the video.
Click the like button.
Click the like button so we can share this and have this reach as many people as possible. Appreciate your support. What would you like to talk about next?
Did I say everything you wanted to about Thailand?
Yeah, I mean, just to clarify, like, for me, like, the challenges, I was fresh off of a layoff, and that affected me a lot emotionally, and it made it hard for me to focus on anything other than peace and healing and getting right, which was a really long journey for me to get to. It was really scary for me. And Thailand was giving everything it possibly could give, with good food, good fruit, swimming, sun, beach, all of that. And I really needed that oh, amazing. Thank you so much.
Hi.
Yay.
Oh yeah, you gotta take it. If you said it right there, we not gonna send you a bad thing or anything.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Have a good day.
You
All
do
right,
the
thank
same.
you.
Here also.
Okay.
All right,
thank you
so much.
Little mail delivery, real life.
Yeah. So it was just a challenging time in general, and we were doing everything we could. Jolene mentioned we did have money coming in. We got casted for a show. They were going to pay us $2,000. It was just expensive to live there, and I was getting nervous about what is our long-term plan, because our monthly expenses cost way more than we anticipated. LOL. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, and then I feel like for me, well, one, with DTV you can't work, so there was no opportunity for us to like get up and go get a job. So you know, already the motivation to do that is low because it's impossible. You can't go work anywhere, and I feel like for me in that time, while I had been unemployed for a longer amount of time at that time than Addie, I feel like because I was going so hard trying to be employed, I hadn't even enjoyed the break off. I was just beating myself up, and like I said, like this was my family business, so it's like I don't know, in a family business that I built with the help of my siblings and stuff, of course, but we're talking about from my perspective. So it's like I helped put that whole business together, and it took me a long time to let it go, and then to also not be beating myself up, because then after I was over that it was gone, I was like, I can't believe I put that much into something that wasn't mine, you know? So just this constant cycle of like beating myself up is part of why I wasn't able to, I think, really meet the mental and spiritual level that we needed to be at to make the amount of money we needed to be comfortable.
Yeah, and I feel like it was really hard. I mean, Jolene lost her job 6 months into our marriage, or 8 months, and it was perfect timing in terms of like we'd already paid off all our debt, and like every single dollar of her salary was going towards achieving our financial goals. And as soon as we achieved our financial goals, we maybe got like 1 month to actually enjoy having two incomes, and then it was gone. So and I know that was really hard for both of us. It was hard for Jolene because no one wants that to happen 8 months into their marriage. It was incredibly stressful for me because my dream job at Google was actually not great in terms of like, it was really challenging for me, not necessarily the work, but just the culture, just the corporateness of it, the demands. So while I was able to financially support the both of us, one, it never felt like enough because that's just how life works. And two, I felt like I was holding on to my job with a thread because of all the layoffs that were happening. Like literally month we got married is when Google had their first major layoffs. So we got like immediately there was no peace, and Jolene was working as hard as she could to get a job. I wanted her to get a job, but once I saw resistance in terms of like the job coming, I was like, I told her like, you can just focus on being a housewife, you can focus on your business, but I completely understand why that was hard for her to even do at that point, because no one wants that, and there wasn't enough peace and calm in my income to even help her be at peace. We were literally on the strings edge, and I think these companies want us to feel like that because
They
yeah.
absolutely do. I talk about that all the time because it's like these companies have organizational psychologists and more creating all of this stuff to get buy-in from their employees. Like, I don't want swag. You know, swag at the house is just marketing. It's just marketing to get you thinking about that company and have a reminder about some work that you need to do and all of that stuff. So it worked. And I truly believe, like, you know, people get upset and make fun of this, but Sundar's wife works at Google too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well,
But it makes sense.
She don't.
Okay. Yeah,
I mean, she works at Google too, because when you have those high kind of roles and positions, to think that that wife only gets to just sit home and be at peace all the time is crazy. These wives at work too. That's why it's like I used to make fun of, I think people still do make fun of like military wives or police wives, and they're like, oh, it's our badge and stuff. And it does sound crazy, but at the same time, when your partner comes home and you have to put them back together and patch them up so that they can go see another day, and that becomes your job, you know what I mean? It's all divinely orchestrated, and maybe not necessarily divine, but it's all expertly earthly crafted, if that makes sense. Like, there are people in the world who their job is to figure out how to make employees the best employees, and a good employee loves their company, right? So there's science, psychological practices that lead to this. So we both, I feel like, even though I didn't have a job, another reason why I was tired when we got to Thailand, I'm sorry, I'm looking at this hummingbird, is because we were both tired and exhausted and burnt out. I was doing it's like whatever Addie had and needed to get to work, she had, and then what wasn't there, I feel like I had to give, you know, to get her up, to help her be flowing and happy and all those things throughout the day, you know?
Yeah, I would have spiraled if I didn't have Jolene with me. Jolene was waking me up in the morning, making coffee in the morning, making sure I was eating, making sure I was having dinner, and really and it sucks because it's like now a job isn't just taking my energy, it's taking my wife's energy, and these jobs are just so all consuming, and it's like we keep being willing to do it, but that's why it felt divine or spiritual for us to not get these jobs, because while we were willing to do it, it just in general was not good for us. It wasn't. Our whole life force energy is now being sucked towards the profits of these companies, and you know, we wanted something different for us. What else do you want to talk about?
Yeah. So I feel like in a nutshell, you know, we kind of explained why Thailand didn't work. And that's not, again, to deter anybody from visiting. Visit Thailand tomorrow if you can. Well, maybe not tomorrow. Wait till that rainy season is over.
Yeah.
Because that is a serious thing.
Yeah.
But after rainy season, go to Thailand immediately. It's beautiful, beautiful beaches, spying. It was also nice to be in a place where they did not care that we were black
or
gay. And that was part of the reason why we wanted to move there and live there. And, you know, I could talk about all of the good things, but I think what surmises the experience the most is that we did want to live there. Yeah. Just we are American, and I respect that their culture, their government has protected against the invasion of foreign people and colonization. A lot of people don't know, but Thai means free. So they're the only nation in Asia that hasn't been colonized. And now we know why.
Yeah, no, for sure. I want to talk a little bit like at the adversity. Like we've talked about jobs not being supportive. We talked about Thailand not being as supportive as we need it to be to live there long term. But something that was also going on in the background is I was not getting a lot of support from my side of the family about like our marriage. We were honestly spending a lot of money to go travel and see family and have them not um, be as supportive about our marriage. My family's African. Julian's African American. We're gay. We're two women. We're getting married. Still to this day, not necessarily from just my side.
I
Oh
think
my
it's
gosh.
okay, baby.
Okay.
I think it's
All
just a
right.
dragonfly, and I think he's sick.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Not necessarily from my side of the family, but just in general, we get comments all the time about people not being supportive of our marriage, our life together.
Yeah, in 2025, people are still mad about gayness.
Yeah. So it kind of sucked to go through our job losses while also having that negativity and naysaying around us. Like I before I even got laid off, I had to take short-term disability for mental health, and my family was not necessarily supportive around that. They thought that, and so we were just operating on that was just another thing that made it challenging for me on top of everything else, because they say revenge is the best revenge is a life well lived, and we were doing that the best we possibly could, but losing major things like jobs during that period of time was incredibly discouraging and frustrating.
And I mean, I think for any couple, especially in the youth of your couplehood, we were blessed and we listened to this podcast. I forgot what it's called, but it was a good podcast.
Fierce Marriage.
Fierce Marriage. Shout out to Fierce Marriage. I don't know if they're homosexual friendly, but we were listening to that podcast because we are Christians. You can be Christian and gay. So we were listening to that podcast and they kind of broke down marriage adversaries versus marriage advocates. And that changed my whole frame of reference and understanding as I became friends to couples, other marrieds and stuff like that. And long story short, it doesn't help anybody for you to be mean or express your disapproval or lack thereof to a couple in any way. And it also makes you look kind of stupid because the truth is, obviously, our couplehood is the only thing making us happy. If it wasn't for what we had in each other, who knows where we would be. And for you to be on an outsider and understand that we're two young adults living life trying to figure out what it is and what to do and how to make things better, for you to come in with any negativity as if you don't remember what it's like to be young, to be in love, and to have room to build is really selfish and just not cool. I think one of my things that I didn't post but I want to is like, dream killing is dead. If you want to be a dream killer, you need to ask yourself a lot of questions about why you want to be so miserable. And also, if all you can sit there and think about is negative stuff to say about me and Addie, you need more time to do stuff. You need less time. You need to figure out what to do with your time, because when it comes to couples, unless you want to help them, they don't really need you to say anything. So be an advocate instead of an adversary.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good time to remind everyone we're raising money for our Hawaii Homestead.
Hawai'i Homestead. We're sharing our life with you. We're catching you up to how we got ready to build this homestead in Hawaii. There was so much that happened in Thailand that we hadn't talked about, and I wanted to share with you guys. So we said this is the perfect time to do it. Make sure you subscribe, like our video, and donate to our GoFundMe. And something I want to mention about the GoFundMe is like, any amount helps. Even if all you have to give is like $5, all of that adds up, and we're incredibly and eternally grateful for it. So there is no amount too small. We are not going to be like, so-and-so only donated 50 cents. What are they doing with that? We're going to be grateful to receive that 50 cents because every 1 cent is more than we had, you know?
Absolutely. Excellent reminder. Please donate. Links in our bio as well as in the description of this live stream. And if you cannot financially support, go ahead and subscribe and like our videos. Share the GoFundMe link with people
share the link
that can contribute.
And share our page, share our message, share our goals, because part of the reason, I don't know, and I think we talk about it on a personal level, but I don't know how much we talk about it on our channels. It's like part of the whole goal of this and our journey here is because we know that there has to be a better way to live than job scarcity and fear. We're on the path. We are the boots on the ground trying to figure out what is this better path, because it's also just about happiness, you know? And I think it's, you know, I know some people are asking if you're in my family. It's like, one, we are applying to corporate jobs and we are not hearing back. Two, we've done that corporate job route and we know people in our family who have done that corporate job route, and what they are not is happy.
Yeah, they're doing the best they can, but they're still living month to month, paycheck to paycheck, credit card payment to credit card payment. And we made a decision a long time ago that that's not the kind of life that we're going to live. And we can get back to our story soon, but like this homestead, we're literally, this is not a luxury situation. That we're talking about composting toilet, outdoor shower, you know, just wild pigs running around,
Wild pigs
ravaging crops. Like, it's literally the bare minimum that we can possibly get to live a sustainable life together. And like, and that's why we need your help. So that's what you're supporting. That's what the GoFundMe link is supporting. And we can go back to I guess we can talk about leaving Thailand. I'll share that I feel I'm responsible for us leaving Thailand. I started getting a lot of fear, started having emotional and physical reactions that made me want to go home to the U.S. And I definitely put Jolene in a tight spot. That was a really challenging part of our marriage. Sometimes I regret being so rash. Like, I'm just telling you this because I'm being authentic, but Jolene has told me over and over again, Thailand long term wouldn't have made sense. And, you know, but it was, you know, when you get that feeling and it's like it's time to go. And there were just a series of events that strongly gave me the feeling it was time to go.
Yeah. And, you know, I think it was a test for our marriage, because I feel like anybody who's married, and it doesn't matter what gender, sex, all of that stuff, if you're married, a marriage pretty much works the same way, because if you're on a marriage type that honors commitment, and it's like Addie was unhappy, so that meant it wasn't going to work long term no matter what, because what they say is true. Happy wife, happy life. And if we're in a partnership together, and if one of us is deeply unhappy and can't find peace, can't find joy, then the other one isn't going to be able to do that either. So
that's such a good point, Jolene. And that goes for any and all situations, even when it's hard. Like when Jolene was applying to jobs, like some jobs were reaching back out to her, but they were really jobs that and there was a time that she was pushing to be an Uber driver. And it's just like, while in the moment that extra money may have felt momentarily good, like the quality of life that I was having with Jolene not having a job that was making her unhappy was feeding me. So for Jolene to not be happy to take a job just for the money, but in exchange for her happiness, no matter how much money that is, it's not worth it. And I think that's something that's really hard for people to do, but it's not normalized, and that's why divorce is normalized.
Yep.
That's why workaholism is normalized. That's why a lot of marriages and relationships that you see on TV, it's not even real. It's not even real love. They're not even acting as people who are actually in love with each other.
No, I feel like another thing, and this is so funny because this experience happened probably a week before Addie got laid off. We were at one of those corporate events, and it was this couple, and they both worked at it. I mean, I'll go ahead and tell it. They both worked at Coca-Cola.
Oh, yeah.
And they were telling about how hard it was for them to find a system that worked during COVID, because what I heard, it's not what they necessarily said, but this is what I heard, is that couple didn't even like each other. And with work being removed, those 8-hour breaks or more that they were getting from being at work when that was taken away by COVID, they realized that they actually couldn't stand each other. And I knew from listening to her talk, I personally was like, this girl sounds crazy. This girl don't love her husband. What are these two doing together? Because she don't love him. She don't even like being in the house with him all day. She wants to leave. You know what I mean? They just were so clearly to me not happy. And I feel like I remember going home and telling Addie that day, like, I'm happy that that's not how we look at each other. I'm happy that we're not itching to get to the office so we can get away from each other. Because that's not how marriage is supposed to feel. No. There's nobody I like hanging around as much as Addie, I mean, part of why we want a homestead together is because it's like we want to build a life where we can focus on each other and expanding and growing that, whether it's kids, homestead with animals and all of that stuff. We want to figure out and optimize, prioritize, and frankly monetize us being together.
Absolutely. And I feel like people see value in like team building when it comes to like a corporate setting and human capital, but they don't think about the people that are right around them, their wife, their kids, like that they deserve those relationships deserve investing in, because the power of two is way greater than one. And people don't think like that when it comes to their personal relationships, but we do.
It makes me think of an edition of with Addie episode where you were explaining to somebody that while they may not be financially rich, they are rich in relationships, because she was like, I have a husband and I have 4 kids and I can barely get a minute to myself and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like not being able to identify the type of wealth that's the most prevalent in your life is something, to me, is a red flag that you're not living, or I'm not living how I want to be, because I'm not even able to recognize the blessing of my wife, the blessing of having a partner who's there to experience and go through all of these things with me. I'm just looking at them as somebody who's in my way or who's getting on my nerves or who I want gone. You know what I mean? Yeah. And another thing Addie said, divorce is so normalized, which that's a conversation for a completely different video. But the reasons that get to divorce are the things that I feel like are highlighted and glorified in our society. Like, for example, the cheating husband archetype on these things. Like, she wants him to be gone because she wants to spend all the money. She wants, sometimes it's okay for him to stay late at work and all of that stuff. And it's like, that stuff's actually not okay. All of that stuff takes away from your time and from your family. And it's like the reason that the husband has to call, and it doesn't matter about gender, it's just the archetype that we're used to seeing. The reason he has to call and let the wife know is because it disrupts their peace. It disrupts their flow as a couple. And that disruption is what creates space for the naughty secretary to even come in. But if they had gone home at 5 when everybody else had gone home, naughty secretary or adulterous woman doesn't even have time to fraternize and stick her claws in husband. But they don't want to talk about that part of it. They only want to talk about so-and-so is it cheating, what's it called, Coldplay guy, astronomer CEO. They only want to talk about the fact that he's at this Coldplay concert with his mistress. But all of the steps that occurred for them to get to that level of comfortability, complacency, started at work.
So that type of marriage doesn't work for us. People get married for different reasons. We got married for love, and because we want to spend time with each other, and we love each other. So that's why we are doing life different, and because mainstream doesn't get the outcomes that we're looking for. What next?
So, we kind of decided to leave together in Thailand. And
I can talk about my dad calling.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. So Jolene and I were going through a hard time. I called my dad, and he kept saying, like, Thailand's not working for you guys. You need to come back to the U.S. You can come stay with us. The first time I didn't really take it seriously because I talked to Jolene about it, but I let her know. But we were going through an even more difficult time, and I was like, you know what, that may be right. So he said no rules. He said we can stay as long as we need to. that he'll do the cooking and he's just happy. My dad, we haven't lived together our whole life. You know, we'd see each other few and far between. We maybe, you know, it's not like we're super close or anything. My parents got divorced when I was 10, but since we got married, he's been calling and being supportive and of our marriage, which, as I shared before, on my side of the family wasn't as often or wasn't as abundant. So it was a risk. We did a tarot reading on it. We talked about it. Life stopped us. We were supposed to leave sooner than we did, and we got 3 days in a hotel in Thailand to really ponder over this. And we decided to give it a try. It was great for about 3 weeks, but due to, I will say, cultural prejudice, you know, as soon as my dad wanted to communicate a story that, in my opinion, put a negative moral judgment on people who were sold into slavery. And I'm an American, you know, I'm African American truly. And that kind of conversation, I don't think is appropriate conversation. I used a word that he didn't like, which was uncouth, in describing bringing up conversations like that. You know, he insisted that it was fact, and he's trying to communicate facts and pass down history. Where I felt like there was a non-bigoted way to communicate that. So ever since that conversation, oh, that's a cool Bronco. Ever since that conversation, oh, it's a Hummer. Ever since that conversation, it became incredibly tense in the home. And because, as I mentioned, we haven't lived together our whole life, we didn't spend as much time with each other. And again, putting family first, I made the decision for us that we needed to leave and exit that situation.
Abby, he's so cute. Subathon pause. Look at how cute Abby. Hi, Abby. Girl. You can come. You can come, sweet girl. How are you?
Here's Abby.
Hi. She's like, come out and play with us.
Hi.
How you doing? What's up, pretty? How are you?
Oh, it's okay.
We all wanted to talk.
Yeah.
Hi, Abby.
Good to see you, Abby.
How you doing?
Love this collar.
She's a little damp because she went in the lake.
Aww. It's hot. You gotta cool on.
She's 2 years old today.
Oh,
Happy birthday, Abby.
Oh, she's so cute. I saw yesterday, you trying to get her out of the yard. I know she wanted to come see Mom.
She loves your mom. She really does. And she's her favorite person.
Aww.
I'm just the food giver.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they reduce all of us to.
Yeah.
Have a good day. I'm glad you had a good swim on your birthday, Abby.
She dried off pretty well.
It's hot.
Yeah.
She's going for a bath. She's got a little pond water smoke to her.
2 years old.
Aww.
Is she gonna get any bigger, you think?
Nope.
No.
She sucks.
Aww.
Yeah. No, the English creams tend to be a little smaller than the standard golden retriever you see in the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the females tend to be a little smaller than that. So.
It's nothing wrong with taking up space, Abby girl. Take that space, big girl. Yeah. Yes. Hey, I gotta give my daddy a lot of love. I gotta have a container.
Yeah, she's a mess.
Mm-hmm.
She is wonderful.
Oh, did you have a good weekend?
We did.
Good.
We did
Good.
pretty good. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, well, you have a good rest of your day,
You too.
but I
Come on,
won't
Angel,
hold you.
please. You silly goof.
Enjoy your walk.
We had to have a brief intermission
Yeah.
for our favorite neighborhood pub.
We did. And we love Abby. So yeah, I guess I was just saying how I made the decision for both of us that we should leave my dad's house. And it was
Thanks for saying that. So if you're watching, I have nothing to do with it. I know there's a narrative about me, but you did it, not me.
Yeah. And you meaning me because I made the decision to leave. So, and I feel like that's something else. Like, we're currently at Jolene's parents' house until because we had to stay here because our cat, Oya, needs required paperwork in order to get into Hawaii. But something that people say is like, oh, just live with your parents, live in the basement, whatever. And people put up a lot of discomfort doing that. Like, for me, it was only going to make sense if we were comfortable and we felt free to be ourselves. And as soon as that became not the case, it's not worth it to me. Like, I would rather, I think it's normal. So Jillian talks about giving our happiness away with both hands. And that would have been giving our happiness away with both hands to tolerate uncomfortability while staying just for a roof over our head.
Yeah. And I think that was a hard decision, and I feel like I was really upset when we left Thailand and stuff like that. But obviously, eventually, I came to understand that Addie was just trying to make the best decision she knew for us as a couple. And we talked about, how that process can be smoother and work, better for both of us next time. But, it took me a while, but obviously, I came around to see what she was seeing. So that brings us to here. We were in Minnesota, and some of our live streams were there, and then we were here. And I think on the tail end of Minnesota is really, so for me, I think in the Phuket airport is when Hawaii talks started happening, because I think it became clear too that while I loved Thailand, what I really loved about Thailand was having beach access, and being from Atlanta, Georgia. It's very inland. And my parents are actually from Savannah, so there's Tybee and there's Hilton Head, and I grew up going to those beaches, and I loved them too. I really did. But with Florida and Georgia, it's very specific where you have to be in order to be a part of the job market. Because again, for everybody who's like, these girls just need to go get a job, we've tried everything regionally, and we've tried everything we could in terms of like putting ourselves in the best position. And long story short, in Georgia, there isn't, the job market is just not for what we want. Like, Addie works in big tech. I'd be surprised to find if there were any big tech HQs in Savannah. Like, I know Gulfstream is there, but that's still aviation. It's not really tech. And it's like, long story short, not to say that we couldn't find jobs, but jobs that aligned with our actual career trajectory need specific living requirements. And Florida doesn't really meet those. And while California meets those, it doesn't meet them because you can't swim in the beach in California. You can't even go. People don't tell you that until you research about moving to California and San Diego and LA. And it's that most of the beaches aren't swimmable because the currents from Alaska come and make the water freezing. So while people do surf, they're in those expensive full body suits that have to protect them from the cold, as well as all of the other, elements of the ocean, right? So it kind of became clear that for the beach life we wanted, we needed remote work. And, I think that was always our goal. We always wanted our businesses to be location independent. And so then that really kind of only made like Puerto Rico and Hawaii the places that were open to us. And I visited Puerto Rico a couple years ago, and while I did like it, I did not care much for the food. And I just don't know. It's another kind of situation where, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, and that's all that matters. We've been making decisions based on what feels good, because we have to go through that feeling. And let's not forget, besides jobs, if we're talking about the Southeast in Florida, we are lesbians, we are Black. There's a level of uncomfortability that is present there.
As an Atlantean, born and raised, I'm sick of the South. I'm sick of Southern ideals. I'm sick of the Bible Belt. Like, we sent our GoFundMe out this yesterday, as you guys know. Matter of fact, just a reminder: the Subathon is for to help us get donations to our GoFundMe link, which is currently in our bios and it's everywhere on our profile. And also like and subscribe. This is our subathon, and it won't always be us just sitting in front of the camera talking, but we really wanted to update our fans and followers and subscribers on how we arrived at this journey, you know.
Yeah.
And what was I talking
Being over the South.
about? Oh yeah. And somebody this morning when we sent our GoFundMe out called my mom and took it upon herself to tell my mom that she didn't approve of our lifestyle and of my choices and all that stuff. And long story short, first of all, just ignore the message if you don't want to give anything.
Right.
It's not meant to evoke more emotion than give them money. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Other than that, though, I don't need anybody's opinions on our lifestyle, whether it's frankly family or friends or anything. You know what I mean? Just Northwest said it best. Just bless me. That's all I ask. You don't need to approve. You don't need to like.
I was gonna say Hawaii was the first state to legalize gay marriage, same-sex marriage, and that was way before the other states started following suit. So similar to Thailand, which is very LGBTQ positive, that 100% informs where we go because that's our comfortability. We've lived in the South most of our life. Like, we deserve to live places that are non-judgmental about things that are identity related.
So that's kind of, like I said, at the airport in Hawaii, we kind of were like, it kind of seems like the only places we would be happy with beach are Puerto Rico and Hawaii. And then I feel like fast forward to a few weeks, we were in Minnesota, and the part of Minnesota we were in, I was really grateful to visit because it was the tall grass prairies. So it was really kind of nostalgic, I guess, as an American, because we all hear about Little House on the Prairie and growing up on the prairie and stuff. And something that we kept seeing was huge amounts of farmland. Huge amounts of farmland. I mean, I can't even tell you off the top of my head how many acres. I just know, and I recorded some of it. You know, go check out some of my shorts because I would be like what it's like to ride down the road in Minnesota. And it's just riding next to this huge farm. And I think we also we were in Marshall, Minnesota. So we also got to see that we actually liked small town feel. It was nice to not have to deal with traffic. Atlanta is traffic. I mean, I just to give you like a little frame of reference, I personally grew up with my parents normalizing driving from Fayetteville all the way to Metro Atlanta every single morning. So I didn't even come from the concept of you can live 10 to 15 minutes away from your house. I was just used to having like an hour commute everywhere I needed to go in Atlanta all the time. So it only took me a couple of weeks of being like, I don't want to go back. I don't want to drive anymore like this. You know, it makes driving not even pleasant. But anyway, so we were seeing the tall grass prairies, and me and Addie were kind of just sitting on the porch at her dad's house, kind of like now. And we were like, you know, this farm life ain't looking so bad, you know, because it's like they've got all of these crops and plenty of beautiful, lush farmland. They have a nice home that they're sitting on, and then they don't have neighbors for a mile or two.
Yeah. And that's in addition to most of the help that my dad wanted us to do was with his yard. And then I realized, like, everyone's just farming grass. You know, he had an acre and a half. And I'm like, why is everyone... And it was, like, so important to make sure the grass looked perfect. And it's like, I started to get conspiracy theories because I'm like, why are people farming grass? But I was able to be doing that yard work, doing that weeding, doing that trimming, made me remember how much I enjoyed working with my hands, and, you know, pulling weeds, getting in the dirt. And Jolene and I had fun together doing it. You know, we're always looking for other ways to exercise, and that's, you know, self-contained exercise that actually is productive as opposed to just wasting energy for no reason. So it just felt good to be in nature again. And so I was feeling the same way.
And I think we, you know, ended up just randomly talking about it, to be honest. And then Addie was like, wait, are you serious? Because if you're serious, I know this great program. And that was when the idea of WOOF came into our field division. So we were like, oh my gosh, this is great. We can get to Hawaii and we can work on a farm and we can learn about farming. And we were super excited to do that. So we enrolled in the WOOF thing, you know, which is like what, $250 to be a part of that WOOF?
Yeah, just to join and get insurance, we had to pay $250, which sucked. And WOOF stands for Worldwide Federation of Organic Farmers, something like that. I had heard about it. It worked out for a friend who woofed. She was from Vermont and woofed in California, and I had never heard about it otherwise. It seemed promising. We started to see all these availabilities in Hawaii, but it felt very much like a job interview, or an application. It's not like you would think these people are desperate for farm hands, but they're not. I don't even know why they have profiles up. But someone did get back to us quickly, and the accommodations were really nice. And we sat through this whole interview with her, even offered to clean her Airbnbs for a crazy low hourly rate.
Crazy low.
And she said she's actually gonna keep the woofers that she already has. So from that conversation, we told our family. We told everybody, like, this is what we're doing, we're going to Hawaii, this is where we're farming, this is where we're doing this, and we're doing that. And then she texts us, like, actually, you're not doing that.
And like she said, it's like, this is after we agreed to clean those Airbnbs, which was like, you know, it became much too job-like, number one. And then number two, it was like, not you immediately asking us to go outside of our scope. Like, in that conversation, she was basically like, I don't even know how much farming experience you're gonna get, but you can live on my property and clean my Airbnbs. And it's like, I know for me, you know, like I have these moments, just how my mind works, where it's like, what are we doing? What are we about to go be these people's slaves? You know what I mean?
And that's what it felt like.
And it's like, you know, we were on the way back to Atlanta anyway. And it's like, well, the truth is, like, for what she's offering, we got that as free as it can be from our parents, you know, from Addie's dad for a short time. And my parents are frankly like, we don't want you guys to go. You know what I mean?
So we're working so hard, not because we're just so pleasant to be around.
So, you know, that was when it was like, and we were praying for this perfect WOOF opportunity.
Yep.
And I remember we both had the understanding, and we both talked, and we're like, this is the WOOF.
Right.
You know,
this is a perfect WOOF opportunity.
This is a perfect WOOF opportunity.
And we don't like it.
We don't like it. There's not going to be a better accommodations than what I got at my mom and dad's house. I mean, we pretty much have our own in-law suite. Food taken care of. My dad want to give us the car, but we got to pay insurance, you know, and it's not a car we want, but it's a car, you know what I mean? So, this is the WOOF opportunity. So it's like, I don't know why, if we are going to be praying and bringing God into it, I don't know why we asking for what we already have.
Yeah. And then I had a crazy idea one morning, like I typically do with Jolene. And I'm like, how much would it cost to just buy our own farm and be our own WOOF? Because I'm all about skipping steps. Like, sometimes, I mean, as people, which I feel both of us is like, we went through all the steps, and then you realize that there's ways to just shortcut it, especially through manifestation and prayer. And sometimes it's our own limiting beliefs, thinking we have to go through all of these steps when we can just go straight to what we're looking for. What I got from that is that, and also from our experience in Minnesota, it not being our land makes it hard to show up even and invest, because it's not ours. And it's like, well, I haven't even looked to see how much farms cost in Hawaii. And we looked, and surprisingly, we found some that were lower than we expected.
And it kind of makes me want to pause here and go back to Thailand. Like, we skipped over, but our home in Thailand was really beautiful. And part of the reason why it was so beautiful is like it was basically a family owned a cul-de-sac, or it's like, just think about if you've ever been in a neighborhood, the cul-de-sac street. So a family, but this not a neighborhood. It's just kind of like a cutout in what I'm sure was woods at one time. This one family owned like this whole, I don't know, what is that, a compound commune or whatever? It wasn't a commune, but just a cutout.
It was a road.
Yeah, they owned
private road.
They owned a private road with homes, and we called him Uncle. And there was this uncle. He was out there because it's important because we got to live in a food forest, and he was out there every day watering those plants, doing everything he could to take care of that land and property, picking up debris that had come down when it had rained. Just had his hands and eyes on that property every day, and they were growing fruit that they weren't even eating. We had wax apples, we had a lime tree, we had coconuts,
Papayas.
Stuff that we didn't even really, we didn't really know about it as much because, and also I don't know how comfortable we felt eating it.
Yeah,
and
they were
stuff.
giving it to us. They were giving us
Oh, mangoes, we're forgetting.
Those green
plenty
yeah.
of mango.
delicious.
So, that kind of obviously piqued our interest. I think that was my favorite thing. Honestly, maybe the only good thing about that house, besides it being a house, was that it was surrounded by so much food and lush flora and fauna,
Yeah, it was really great. And I started identifying plants with an app. Jalene's always looking at plants and identifying them, and I wanted to do the same. And there was a whole earth connection that we got from Thailand.
Yeah. So, fast forwarded to Addie being like, how much was it going to be to get our own farm? And we realized that it was a really achievable dream.
It was achievable.
And I think we also learned in learning the achievability of that dream, we learned that there, just like anything, is 1,000 ways to skin a cat. If you're not a country bumpkin such as myself, it just means there's way more than one way to do something. And so then we started looking at off-grid homesteads and basically just seeing how people achieve these means.
Yes. Again, if you want to help us achieve these means, go contribute to our GoFundMe, linked in the description and in our bios. If you cannot financially support, subscribe or like the video and share our GoFundMe to reach as many people as possible. So
I guess that kind of brings us current
to where we're at now.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be funny to talk about like the first property that we found. So we use ChatGPT for a lot of help. It's an objective third party, and so we had found an area called Ocean View
and Reddit,
of course, crowdsource. We had found an area or a property in a place that we had no idea at the time called Ocean View Estates. It was 3 tiny homes, literally just on rock. And it was it 2 acres?
Yeah,
it was 2 acres with these beautifully crafted tiny homes, super livable. It had no toilet whatsoever. And that's where but that was the first home, and we're ready to put an offer on it, and we found out it had a competing offer. So we ended up not proceeding with the showing for that. But in hindsight, that is hilarious because to start a farm, that was no actual soil.
No.
We got into a fight just even thinking about how we were going to clear all those rocks.
And that was the red flag.
A huge red flag.
We were laying in bed, making plans for this property that neither one of us really know what to do. You know what I mean? But just talking about how we might begin to start the farm had us ready to, I don't even like you anymore. What do you even know about farming?
Right.
And the truth is neither one of us damn do.
No. And Jalene made the good point. We need land that's going to work for us. Someone asked what's happening, guys. We're raising money on our GoFundMe, link in bio, link in description. Subscribe, support, share. But absolutely, we needed something that was a land that was gonna help us as much as possible, because we have no experience, and that's when ChatGPT came
It's just
in.
a butterfly, boo.
That's when ChatGPT came in, and we asked, where are some places that make sense for us in Hawaii to start farming?
And I feel like before we got to ChatGPT, though, we also were doing what everybody does and researching the neighborhood.
Yes.
And what was a red flag was one of the videos of like the land that we were looking at. He was like, well, you're going to do all this research about Ocean View. And so me and Addie were like, well, what's the research? And so then we just, long story short, found out it wasn't the most desirable area in terms of crime and safety. And,
Yes.
And Hawaii as a whole is safe in terms of, relatively safe in terms of crime, but just apparently in some areas it's more concentrated, homelessness, drugs, squatting, and so like petty theft, petty crimes were what we were worried about. But if I can help it, I don't want to be the victim of any crime, petty or serious.
Yeah, safety is always number one when we decide on a place to live. So that's on that. Yeah, so we saw some, and our agent was from Ocean View too, and she wasn't selling it either. She was like, I didn't want to move here.
We left her with the property. Frankly.
Yeah, we did. So we got a new real estate agent.
We are not with anymore.
We are with
Keller Williams.
Yes. So, and he created a portal for us, and we started finding properties that.
And if he gets us in a home, we'll share his name and company and contact and all that stuff. But if you don't do that, you don't need that, obviously.
No. So now we learned a lot looking at the homes in the portal, looking at the costs. Like, we've been balancing the cost of just a raw land and putting a camper on it versus these unpermitted structures. There's things that we have to worry about in terms of waste, like cesspool versus septic versus nothing. We've learned, Jolene especially has done so much research on off-grid living, Hawaii living, and that is why we're asking for what we're asking for. Like, people are out there living in a tent, and the next video you see, they're moving somewhere else. So in order for this to be truly sustainable and livable, that's why we need to raise funds for things to make it sustainable and livable.
So the kind of things we need to make it sustainable and livable, we need solar. And because we are, powering a whole homestead, we need a good amount, and we need a very sophisticated solar setup.
15 solar panels, in addition to the converter, in addition to inverter and a backup generator, just in case there are people who have solar panels to donate. We will accept that too.
That's why we're going through all of this.
Yeah.
No, we would take not anything, but all stuff that we're about to mention. We need supplies to start a farm. We need excavator, we need backhoe, we need trimmer, we need mulcher. We also have to upgrade our water catchment because we're gonna be living off of like rainwater, but you have to be able to catch as much rainwater as possible and store it, because we need it to water our plants. We need it to, for plumbing and bath and hand washing. So we have to upgrade our catchment.
Lawnmower. We need a vehicle.
A
car, a truck specifically, a Toyota Tacoma with less than 100,000 miles on it.
Or a Tundra. We want a Toyota truck.
Yes. We also have a camper because we are priced out of a lot of like the full homes, the permitted homes.
Priced out of full homes, and also priced out of tiny homes. And I mean, I kind of want to talk about that. These tiny homes cost as much as it does to build a house.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I would build a tiny home at the cost of what it takes to build a home.
Yeah, I remember years ago watching Tiny House Hunters and being shocked that the nice, tiny Victorian tiny homes were $60,000. They've only gone up since. A tiny home, bare minimum, we're hoping they even respond to us, is $50,000.
Yeah.
And that's how we got to campers. So yeah, it's incredibly expensive. Tiny homes are incredibly expensive, and you'll see some of them selling for 125,000.
Yeah.
Which in Georgia, if you go to a remote area, you can probably buy a lot and a home for 125,000.
So those are, you know, some of the main things that we know we're going to need. And that's just not even being there, you know.
Right.
As we know for a fact, once we get to the land, we're going to understand different things and understand different needs that the land has and that we need to be able to thrive on the land. So that's why we're doing this subathon. That's why we are asking for help. And, you know, I think there's a lot of, it brings up a lot of emotion for us and obviously other people. And my mom said something so insightful today that was just kind of minimal, but it was so true. And it was like, have not, because you ask not, you know?
Yep.
And
Loudest
people,
mouth gets fed.
loudest mouth gets fed, and people forget that, you know, and it's like, we are asking for help because we need help, and any amount can help, you know what I mean? So this is just kind of our introduction to our homestead journey, and frankly, a sustainable homestead journey specifically, because I guarantee you, if you do what we did, which is, you know, look for homesteaders, off-grid homesteaders and stuff, is you see people start, and we have seen very few people finish.
Yep.
Because it's hard and it takes money, and it seems unrealistic to expect help from other people. But what to me is more realistic and honestly more potentially damaging to our relationship is getting out, is it not acknowledging these needs that we know we're going to have, that we know we're going to come up, and getting out there, and now we can't function and we are in dysfunction as a couple because we weren't real about the needs that we were going to have up front.
Yeah.
You know?
No, we need to ask for what we need. And people say it's like, it sounds crazy to ask other people for help. The world the world requires goodwill to go round. People can't live in isolation and be in self-sufficiency. Even if you, what are those people, preppers? The preppers that are waiting for the apocalypse, they are hoarding stuff to trade with someone else. We all benefit from people's goodwill, from people's grace, from people's generosity. And that's what we have. And we have put so much goodwill, grace, and generosity into the world. It is rarely that we ask for it to be pulled back out. And that's why we're asking for so much, because we have put $500,000 worth of energy, grace, goodwill, positivity into the world, and now we're asking for the world to return the favor to us. And because there's billions of people on this planet, like even if just 500 people give us $1,000, that reaches our goal. And 1,000 people give us $500, that reaches our goal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it is, we just need your help. We need you to stretch in your pocket and give as much as you can afford to our GoFundMe's, linked in our descriptions, link in our bio, to support us, because we're asking for help. Are you, like, what do you do when someone needs help?
Yeah. I think another thing I wanted to talk about too is the vision for the farm, and it's like, or the homestead, and it's like that homestead is a community. You know, it's a community waiting to open, waiting to thrive. We're starting with just 3 acres, and we want to get that to fully sustainable, and also more, you know what I mean? We want to sustain us, but there's only 2 of us, and that's a whole 3 acres worth of land. So this is also just an investment in our community for our followers. We don't know what the future holds for our homestead. We just know we want it to be a place where we can have community, where we can gather, where we can set up possibly a free food stand. I've always I didn't talk about as much because it happened more before me and Addie were together, but I used to work and spent most of my career in hospitality before I did COO and all that stuff. So I would love to be able to have a retreat on our property and have people be able to come and, you know, heal and share my energy work, my energy healing, share tarot, my spirituality with people. It could become a rehab of sorts, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So this investment is an investment in our community.
Yep.
And if you are a part of our community, you know, this is why we're calling on you, right? Because this current unit of your community is trying to expand our community and expand what we have. You
Yeah.
know, we've talked about it being a women's land.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, we don't necessarily know exactly what's in store, but we do know that, you know, if you were here from the beginning for our story, we started in creating community together.
Yes.
And that's something that we're going to continue to do, especially with having our land and growing for our community, and sharing the fruits of our land and our labor with the community.
I love that you said that, Julene. So beautifully put. Because it's true. Like, with what the money we have, we can mainly just survive on our own. But with the money you guys donate, we can thrive together.
Yep. So now you know it is not a scam. This is our real life. This
Yep.
is our real goals.
Yep.
And we're asking you to help us achieve those goals.
Yep.
I also invite, this is a tough ask, but if you are not going to want to hear from us or all that stuff on like LinkedIn and Instagram and stuff, go ahead and unfollow and unsubscribe and block even, because I'm telling you right now, I'm going to send that GoFundMe link 100 more times.
Yeah.
We're going to keep asking, we're going to keep growing, and I know that it'll take off. But that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah, it's not personal. If you want to be a part of our community, we're inviting you in, and you can ignore it if you don't want to be a part of it. But what we don't need is negativity. What we don't need is rudeness and disrespect. Everyone in their life has needed something at one point, so stop pretending that this is never going to happen to you. And if you don't want to be a part of our community, like Julene said, exit. Don't be a part of our community, because what is a community for if not to gather around and work together and help each other?
Uplift and empower.
Yeah.
We are not going to be, like I said earlier in the live, dream killers are dead. We don't want any dream killers, and we want to be inspired and we want to be inspiring. So if those things appeal to you, then this is the right place. And, you know, this is a place where you can help, you can donate.
It is. It is sweating, and we've been going for a while. And I'm excited to share this video with people.
Yeah, no, so let's take a break. We'll be back. We're going to be doing a lot more of this style, this flow of live stream. And we're going to have more subathon, longer subathon giveaway, or like I'm going to start doing tarot again and all kinds of stuff. Guitar, all kinds of stuff. So we're really excited for this journey with you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for letting us share so much of ourselves with you. We love you guys.
Love you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.